Hey everybody, it's Candice Adewale of the Loving You Lifestyle and Fearless Freedom, and I am here to talk to you all about the six things, or rather the seven things I learned the day I made $10,000 in one day. Um, I know it's really crazy to actually think about making $10,000 in one day, but I want to kind of share a little bit about my background with you and what led up to that day. So I had always worked in corporate America, various jobs. Actually, my very first job was at Fuddruckers as a cashier. And I knew right then and there that that life, that burger flipping life, was just not for me. I was like, um, I knew that I had a greater purpose and that, I wanted to do more with my life. So fast forward a few years when I had finally discovered my purpose, and I just want to focus on making women feel beautiful on the inside and out. I knew that I had wanted to work with women and help them with their self esteem and help them to live their best possible lives and all of that. And one of the ways that manifested was by entering into the beauty industry. So I went to school, got my esthetician's license, and I was blessed enough to work with my mentor and friend, Julia Johnson, who's a master eyebrow threader and has had her eyebrow threading studio for a very long time. So I ended up working with her, and it was kind of crazy how I ended up meeting her, but I ended up working with her and was very set and determined on supporting her business, and helping it to grow. I had absolutely no plans of my own to start my own business or for things to unfold the way that they did. But one day she came to us and she's like, I have to let you all go. And I was kind of shocked, but I had decided right then and there that I was going to start my own business. So I opened my eyebrow salon, and I had focused on just doing eyebrow threading, eyebrow waxing, just all things brows, pedicures. And it's kind of funny because people, when I said that I was going to open up a brow studio, and I think this was back during the recession of '08, like around that time period, people thought I was completely nuts. They were like, an eyebrow studio, like that's all you're gonna do? I'm like, yeah. And it was really before eyebrow threading and brows and the whole phenomena of doing brows had developed into what it is today. Like it was, I consider myself one of the pioneers because people literally thought that I was nuts to open up just a brow studio that focused on brows and lashes. So, anyways, I built quite a reputation for myself as being one of the best eyebrow studios in Orlando, Florida. And people would come to me because they knew I was not going to jack up their eyebrows and leave them looking crazy, or I would like fix bad brow jobs from like random nail salons. And so, I built up my reputation as being one of the best places to go. And what happened was I wanted to get into permanent makeup. I actually studied at Nouveau Couture. If you know anything, if you're in the beauty industry or you know anything about permanent makeup, you will know that Nouveau Couture is one of the most prestigious schools for permanent makeup. Um, they have a very good reputation. They have a school and training facility in Europe, and also they have one in Orlando, Florida. So I actually studied at Nouveau Couture and got certified in permanent makeup, which I'm very happy that I did because I learned a great deal of technique, and not only technique, but sanitation, which is really, really important when it comes to permanent makeup. So I had said to myself, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do permanent makeup unless I know I can make someone's brows look very natural. I was not into the block brows or the stark permanent makeup that was very um, dark and heavy and looked like like a Sharpie marker was drawn on somebody's face. Like I was not going to do that to somebody's face and then have my name attached to it. So just so happened at Nouveau Couture, I had learned how to do hair stroke brows. This was prior to microblading hitting the scene, but I was following a couple of Instagram pages, and I was following this one young lady out in California who was quite popular. And I reached out to her. I said, "Hey, listen, I know you're doing something that's different from hair stroke brows, and I want to learn." And at first, she wasn't willing to do it, but I had to kind of convince her. I said, "Listen, you're all the way out in California. Like, I'm not even going to be competition to you because I'm all the way on the East Coast, and there's just no way possible that you can do everybody in the entire world. Like, how much do I need to pay you to learn how to do this?" And so she finally agreed, and she flew out to Florida so that I could learn how to do microblading. When I learned microblading, I was probably one of, I'm gonna say, 10 people in the entire country that was doing it. Because again, when I started doing microblading, nobody knew what it was. Like now everybody knows what it is. But when I learned microblading, like I would literally have to convince clients, like, "Listen, let me try this new thing on you." They're like, "What's that? I don't know." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, it's called microblading, blah, blah, blah. It's semi-permanent hair strokes. It lasts A, B, C, D, E, F, G," like giving them the whole spiel about what it was. But it's really funny because, I went from having to um, convince people that they needed this service to having people uh, wanting to get it and calling me specifically to get the service. So what happened is when I started out doing brows, I was making maybe like $10 per person just threading brows. So typically in 1 hour's time, I could probably fit in about 6 people, 5 or 6 people, give or take, because it would take me about 10 minutes more or less to do someone's eyebrows and get them looking like selfie ready and everything. So back then I was like, okay, I'm making $60 an hour. That's not bad because, of course, coming from corporate America, um, making $60, I was not making $60 an hour. Of course, in the beauty industry, it's a little bit different from any other industry because you have your slow days and you have days that you don't really know where your money is coming in. So, on average, I was making about $50 to $60 an hour, and I thought that that was great money. And then what happened is when I started doing microblading, I was charging people about $400 to $500 per per customer. So I went from making $60 an hour to making, four, five, $600 an hour, and that's just on like one microblading client. That's not including the clients that would come for like my regular services, like threading or Brazilian wax or any of those things. And what I soon found is that I had to hire on some people because things were, I was getting quite busy and I wanted to be able to have more people so that I could service more people. So I trained a few girls and had them working in my salon with me. So all of a sudden, microblading becomes this huge thing. And I start getting calls from other beauty professionals asking me if I could train them. They're like, "Can you train me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can train you. I'm happy to do that." So I started charging 1,000. Actually, it was a little bit more. It was like $1,200 per person to learn the art of microblading. I would certify them. I helped them get their um, tattoo artist license for the state of Florida, and I trained them on sanitation and technique. And the whole course cost $1,200. So one day I had a class of 10 people. Normally I would have anywhere from like 6 to 8 people. But this particular day, I had 10 people in my class. and in my class. And as I collected $1,200 from each person, at the end of the day, I counted my money and I realized that I had made over $10,000 in one day. And I was completely shook. That is like the most money I had ever made in one day in life. And I never in my life fathomed ever making that much money. But when that happened, I went home and it just shifted my mindset because I realized that I had been thinking about everything incorrectly. And I was like, okay, I need to completely regroup because here I am. I have been like working like a dog all these years. And I realized that it was all about the way that you worked, not a matter of how much you worked. So the first thing that I learned the day that I made over $10,000 in one day is the power of working smarter, not harder. You know, we've always been told that we're supposed to work hard and that if you don't work hard and long hours, that you have no value. And so I bought into that. And so I thought for me to be a valuable person, for me to be truly productive, that meant that I needed to work long hours. But when that happened, I realized like, no, I don't need to work harder. I need to learn how to utilize my skill sets so that I can work smarter. And I mean, and you have to understand, like when I was hosting these classes, I was hosting about 3 to 4 classes a month. So in one class, in 1 month, you know, I was making anywhere from $6 to $10,000 per class. So if you do the math, um, you know, 6 times 4, that's 24,000, um, then you do the math. If I on the high end, like $10,000 per class times 3 to 4. So I was making anywhere from like 24,000 to about $40,000 a month, and that is insane when I think about it. Like I was making anywhere from 24,000 to $40,000 each and every month while I was teaching classes, and I had a waiting list. And I started having students fly in from other countries. So I had students flying in from Dubai. I had students flying in from Saudi Arabia because tattooing is, it may have changed now, but from my understanding is that tattooing is, you can't get licensed there in Saudi Arabia, but if you go outside of the country and get your license and then come back, you can practice doing it. So I had students flying from quite a few countries because they saw that I had like the best reviews as a teacher, and they wanted to get their microblading instruction directly from me. So um, it kind of dawned on me. This is kind of funny because I remember one day I sat back and I was like, wow, I'm making the same amount of money that some of P. Diddy's baby mamas get each month for child support. And I know that's so crazy, but that thought like legitimately did run through my head. And I was like, wow. So I learned the power of working smarter, not harder. And so what I did is I started to scale back on my other services and focus in on the things that were bringing me in the maximum amount of money without as much effort. And that was very difficult to do because there were a lot of people who loved the way that I did their brows. And, you know, I had to really learn how to say no and focus on my goals and what it was I wanted to achieve. And so what happened was the second lesson that I learned was about trading time for dollars and learning to leverage your time. You know what is actually your worth per hour. And I refused after that day to allow anybody else to dictate what I was worth per hour. And for me, you know, I am all about feminine entrepreneurship. You will hear me on my channel talk about that from time to time because I believe in women learning how to use their passions and their purpose in order to make money, and that all of those things being in alignment with their call to be a wife, a mother, and have beautiful interpersonal relationships. So, for me, it was really important to master trading time for dollars. And trading time for dollars is not something that I desire to do anymore unless I'm getting a significant amount of money that for me is worth trading in those hours for the money. So, I had to learn how to leverage all of those things, and I had to really determine what was my worth because for me, I could no longer after that moment, I could no longer work for something like $10 an hour, which at one point I thought that was like a lot of money. At one point I thought $60 was an hour was a lot of money, but it's really really not. And that shifted my mindset on what a lot of money really is. So number three, the third thing that I learned the day that I made $10,000 in one day is the power of investing in yourself. I have always been one of those people that enjoys taking classes in self improvement, on business, on marketing, on femininity, on spirituality, on healing myself, just anything that I can do to enhance who I am as a person. I love to take classes. Um, and over the years, I have invested a significant amount of money in self improvement. But what I think back, during that particular time of my life, is that I would have never been in the position to make that kind of money had I not gone to school, had I not followed my heart, had I not um, gotten the skills necessary and practiced and crafted and excelled in my art of doing brows at that time. I would have never positioned myself to make that kind of money. So it is extremely important for you to invest in yourself because, you know, this is how you stay ready for the opportunities that life is going to present to you. Oftentimes we talk about, the laws of attraction, and that's very popular nowadays. But one of the ways that you attract things to you is by staying ready, being ready when the opportunity shows up. And if you have not developed yourself, if you have not invested in the knowledge or the know-how, you're not going to be ready when the opportunity presents itself. So I'm really happy that I was always that kind of person that did that, and that I was ready when the opportunity showed up for me. The fourth thing that I learned the day that I made $10,000 in one day was don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask someone to show you how to do something. Don't be afraid to ask for mentorship or advice or whatever it is that you need. You will be surprised at who will step up and say yes to you. And yes, you may hear some no's, but you may hear that yes. So you can't be afraid. Like I think of what if I would have been afraid to approach that very, very popular Instagram uh, brow star about her coming to show me how to do microblading. Like she I would have never had the opportunity had I been scared to do that. But I just walked out on a limb and did it. I mean, even when I opened up my first salon, which was a small studio, I remember I didn't have enough money for the deposit and to get my business license. And so I actually went to the landlord and I said to her, listen, this is my vision. This is my plan. I really want this. I'm going through a divorce. I'm, struggling a little bit financially, but I'm a good person and I know I can do this thing. And I want to know all I have right now is money to either get my business license or to pay the deposit. Can I write you a post dated check for 30 days from now for the deposit? And she said yes. So I was like, oh my God. So I ran down and paid for my business license. And then I wrote her a post dated check. She did not have to do that. She did not know me from anybody off the streets. I mean, she was definitely taking a risk, but I'm glad that she could see the goodness in my soul. And she uh, opened a door of opportunity for me to go ahead and start my business. And so it was because of her and a couple of other angels that I was able to even open my doors in the first place. So don't be afraid to ask for what you need or what you want. The fifth thing that I learned the day I made $10,000 in one day is to stay passion and purpose driven. I think that is the key component to feminine entrepreneurship. I personally have never been motivated purely by money. Some people are money motivated. They don't care what they're doing as long as they're making that paper. For me, that is not the case. Like I can be making a ton of money, and if it doesn't bring me any pleasure or joy, I'm going to get bored and completely dissatisfied. So I think that particularly for women that are seeking to live a more consciously feminine lifestyle, it's important for you to stay passionate and purpose driven. So really dive deep in and find out what your purpose is for being here if you haven't already, and what makes you feel good. What brings you passion when you do it? Because when you can figure out those two things and combine them, you can create multiple vehicles for creating income for yourself. Like I sometimes I don't even have enough time to even execute all of the brilliant ideas that I come up with because I am so in tune with what makes me feel passionate. I am in such alignment with my purpose. So, it amazes me at what you can create. And a lot of times I have had women come to me over the years like, oh my God, Candace, what do I do? I want to do this thing, or I need to make more money and I don't know what to do. And the first question that I will ask them is what do you feel passionate about? What makes you feel most happy? What brings you pleasure when you do it? What drives you? What is your purpose for being here? And when they answer those questions, I can usually come up very quickly with at least three business ideas for them to create some sort of stream of income, which I think is important for everyone, but particularly for women. And, I think that everyone needs to have multiple streams of income. I think that this situation with COVID-19 kind of exposed just how many people are only depending on one source of income. And it's quite bothersome. You should never, never, ever, ever depend on just one source of income. Even if you have a source of income that only brings in like an additional $300 a month, so what? $300 is $300, and you can buy groceries with that or pay like a light bill or something with that. So, it's really important that you do that. And again, the way that I have found, um, to do that, the easiest way rather, is by focusing on passion and purpose, because then it becomes fun, then it becomes easy. And I think when you have those types of feelings towards the money that you're making, it makes it easier for you to attract even more money. And one of the things that I write in my gratitude journal on a regular basis is that I attract money easily and frequently, which I do all the time. And it's fun making money and it's fun attracting money. And that is my truth that I live by. Like that is absolutely 110% my truth is I attract money easily and frequently. I don't know about anybody else's vibration, but that is my vibration for sure. And one of those reasons, like I said, is by making sure I feel good about the money that I make. When you make money in a way that feels bad, you are going to have negative energy towards money. So, anyways, enough about that. Number six, the sixth thing that I learned the day that I made $10,000 in one day is surround yourself with women who catch your vision and are deeply rooted in the feminine. And the reason why is that, and it kind of goes into the bonus, but it's important to surround yourself with women who catch your vision because, one, when you are surrounded by people who don't catch your vision, they can start speaking negatively about your vision because they just don't get it. They don't know why you're doing what you're doing. You sound crazy. Oh, that's going to fail. They don't know why it's going to work. You know, some people just aren't creative. Some people are negative Nancy's. Some people just don't have what it takes to reach the next level. They are basic. They enjoy being basic. They have a mediocre life and they live in mediocre energy. So when you're surrounding yourself about women who catch your vision, the energy is positive. It's flowing. It's an upward spiral towards what you really want to attract and create for your life. Also, the reason why it's important to do that is because, um, again, not everybody's going to be happy for you. And that's something that I realized very quickly when I started making that kind of money is that I noticed, I'm not going to say any names because I don't know who will be listening to this video in the future, but I will say this. I noticed that as I made more money and created more freedom for myself, which allowed me to start doing more things, traveling more, just having more flexibility in my life. There were people who I saw were hating on me and pissed off because they thought that I needed to be working hard like them. No, I don't need to be working hard like you. That's your choice. You could create something like what I'm creating too, but you're too busy being hateful and envious. So, just understand that when you catch women, when you are surrounded by women who catch your vision, they're also going to have a similar vision, and you guys can just feed off of one another. As far as being deeply rooted in the feminine, what I find out is that when you have women that are deeply rooted in their feminine, you can implement a more feminine lifestyle approach to your business versus women who are used to a more masculine lifestyle. And I think like when I had the team that I had working with me, I tried to do and implement a feminine work style structure, but it didn't work because one, they took advantage of it, and two, they were used to a more masculine, energetically masculine work structure, and sadly, I had to do that, and I don't like that because it puts me in my masculine when I have to do that, and I just don't function very well when I am in an energetically masculine mode. So those are the reasons why it's important to surround yourself with women who catch your vision and are deeply rooted so that you can have that support. Number seven, the last thing that I learned the day I made $10,000 in one day, and that is to create a successful system and learn to duplicate it. Once you create a system for doing something and it works, just work on perfecting it and duplicating and run with it because you can create multiple systems from that and make money in a variety of different ways. And so I have learned how to master that. And it's helping me with some of the other projects that I'm currently working on in my life. But some of it's going to take trial and error. So don't think that any of this comes overnight. Don't beat yourself up if it takes you a while to figure out what this is. But just know that when you do this and when you implement a lot of the things that I am speaking about in this video, that you're going to be able to create something absolutely magical for your life. And that is really what I want for each of you all to do, is to create something absolutely beautiful for yourself so that you don't have to feel so stressed out all the time, so that you can have the time and freedom and flexibility to do the things that you enjoy most. And which is like love on your family and have time for your interpersonal relationships, and just really living a full and vivacious life. So, the last bonus thing that I have to add is that I learned is that, just be prepared for any changes in the market and become intuitive, because that's the one thing that I didn't do when I was making all of that money like hand over fist. And what happened to kind of bring my money making party to a complete halt is that um, Brows, which is a major microblading and beauty company from Europe, moved their training headquarters to Orlando, Florida. And when they did that, it all of a sudden, I mean, all of my classes just dropped because everybody wanted to start going there to get their training. And so I didn't foresee that, and it put me in a situation where I was literally stressed out and pulling my hair out because it was crazy going from making that much money to and making some of the decisions that I had made, like to move my salon to a more expensive location, and the overhead. It just became really crazy because I was relying on that money to pay for the overhead. And so, yeah, so when that happened, it created a shift that I didn't anticipate. So, if I could go back in time, I would structure things a little bit differently in order to make sure that I was able to stay afloat a little bit better um, with that type of change. So, just anticipate any types of changes that could happen. Maybe work out 3 different scenarios in your head so that you can stay prepared and a little bit ahead of the game. So those are the things that I learned when the day that I made $10,000 in one day. I hope that this video has helped you in some small way. I would like for you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button right now, please. Make sure to like this video and also share this video with others. And you can also follow me on Instagram. I'll leave the links to all of those things in my in the Dropbox. Also, be on the lookout for my Fearless Freedom program, where I help beautiful, intelligent, savvy, and courageous women like yourselves to travel for medical, to have better medical options, as well as live a beautiful, beautiful life abroad. So, something that I'm doing now as I live in Istanbul, Turkey. And I just want to share that with other ladies in the Level Up community and help you all, because I know when I decided to make that bold decision, I really didn't have much help. And so, yeah, so just be looking out for that very, very soon. You all take care. Have a great day wherever you are on this beautiful planet of ours. And just know that we'll see you in the next video. Ciao.